Tuning your choice, tapping into the frequency of an empowered life. This podcast is all about making choices. Let's face it, life is all about choice we make. And what would you do when life gives you lemons? Here I will share inspirational story of everyday warriors who have overcome struggles, adversity, challenges, and learned how to be their life authors and live life to the fullest. By capturing their stories, their learning and their experiences, each story become like a piece of evidence, and they can give you the courage that you can too. Do you know it's only take 1 second to make the choice? The choice that can lead you out of the loop of struggle. The choice that allows you to claim your power and be the author of your own story. Throughout the podcast, you're gonna hear stories from everyday people who have made empowered choice that lead themselves to live a happy and fulfilled life. Their tales will inspire you, uplift you, and give you hope that there is always a different choice to make in any situation. But before that, let me tell you a little bit about me and why making an empowered choice is so important to me. Hi, I'm your host, Zaki-Leung. I'm a transformational speaker, a breakthrough mentor, and a subconscious healing specialist. Coming from a challenging background, where my parents disowned me when I was just 8 months old. Growing up, I faced bullying, abuse, and family violence. I experienced firsthand how trauma can impact our life, physically and mentally, and how it can leave deep scars in our subconscious mind. But I make a choice to liberate myself from the past, to get on my own healing journey at the age of 15 and reclaim the power of my own life. Now, 20 years later, I'm living my purpose, spreading the message of choice, helping others to transform, and reminding each one of us, you have a choice. No matter where you're tuning in from, join me and let's create a life that's full of possibility.
Right.
Kristy-Ann Waugh is passionate about growth and development and has been called an education junkie and alumni of the University of Life. She has a multidisciplinary business background, spanning over 20 years in both public and private enterprise. Kristy-Ann has worked across several industries, including government, events, finance, recruitment, consulting, training, education, and utilities, domestically and internationally. Kristy-Ann holds a diploma of business and is a student of positive psychology, a recognized credentialed advanced practitioner of coaching, certified trainer, consultant and master coach of neurolinguistic programming, a certified master practitioner of timeline therapy, a certified master clinical hypnotherapist. She is also an international speaker and an Amazon #1 best-selling author. She possesses an insatiable curiosity and unshakable optimism, dedicated to inspiring, transformational, and empowering performance, moving clients from where they are to where they want to be in career, business, and in life. And first of all, let us welcome Kristy-Ann coming and tuning in here today. So welcome, Kristy-Ann, tuning in here. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Sue. All the better for being here with you.
Thank you for tuning in. And first, Kristy-Ann, tell us a little bit more about you.
So I'm a master coach and therapist, an international speaker, and a #1 Amazon best-selling author at Kristy-Ann Waugh. I founded my own business back in 2018, and you might say that, I found my calling, my alignment to passion and purpose through a series of life-defining moments or significant emotional events, or some people might call them sliding door moments. I guess the first of which was when I was 20 years old. I received a prognosis of 24 hours to live, which clearly I survived because I have the privilege of having this conversation with you today. That really piqued my curiosity, because having survived, 3 hospitals and 7 months of treatment and rehabilitation, and all the certification, all the finding, all the research suggests that I should have passed on that hospital bed on that day. So it really piqued my curiosity. And what was it? What was that life-saving difference? And it was attributed to my mindset. So here in my personal development, my self-help journey began. I studied everything from positive psychology to clinical hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, international credential coaching, metadynamics, to name a few. So there's a few modalities in my repertoire that I utilize to support my clients in those transformations from where they are to where they want to be in career, in business, and in life. In saying that, the real catalyst, I guess the second life-defining moment, if you like, that really encouraged me to found my business was my heroic husband in 2013, 2014, after fighting so hard with his psychological well-being, was diagnosed with clinical depression. And I supported him through that. And it was through that I kind of thought, I have all this knowledge, skills, experience, qualifications, etc. And more than that, I think my genius, so my unicorn, is my lived experience. It enables me to really empathize and to go deep with my clients and support them through that transformational change.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember first, of course, we crossed paths in public speaking world, and then I check your profile and I see you're an advocate in self-development and empowerment. And of course, you just share with us what leads you to this path. And I want to take us back a little bit earlier, when you have that hospital experience. Tell us a little bit what's happening back then.
So I just got back from a deployment. I'd had my first deployment, ship-going or sea-going experience in the Navy, if you like, and we were deployed for 3 months. I returned, we were relieved, and subsequently returned to our home port, and I disembarked that ship a shadow of my former self, having lost 15 kilograms by this stage. I was suffering from a state of cachexia, which is wasting of the body. I was immediately medevaced to hospital, where I received the prognosis of 24 hours to live. However, that was attributable to secondary causes. My heart, my kidneys, my liver were failing. My kidneys were functioning at 1/3 at best.
So how long have you been spending time in the hospital?
So I was in the hospital for 7 months,
For
undergoing
7?
treatment and rehabilitation.
Yeah. And
after that original prognosis, my weight continued to plummet, and within days I went to an all-time low of a scanty 29 kilograms. So things were quite dire. So much so, I was curled up on my bed in fetal position, and that's when I heard those terrifying words, we've got everything on her. Either she fights and lives, or quits and dies. And I believe, there are 3 C's in life. Chances, choices, and change. So I had to take a chance and make that choice to change my life, to save my life. So fight I did.
Change, choices, and change. Absolutely right. And you just share with us about you hear all those words while you're in hospital, and what you feeling that time?
I was quite pragmatic about it. I think I was in just so much turmoil that there was no alternative. I had to burn the boats. I was all in. I was committed to my survival. It was far bigger than me. I had a loving family who were distraught. My beautiful grandmother, affectionately called Nanny, she's strong in faith. During the last rites, she actually had the hospital chaplain come in and bless me with water from Lourdes. And she does believe in miracles, and she attributes my survival to that. My parents, my grandfather, and my siblings, who were 18, 16, and 14 at the same time, may be of another opinion, but I allow her to hold on to that because she never gave up hope. None of them ever gave up hope.
Yeah. And so do you as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you said you spent 7 months in the hospital. And of course, I can imagine, it's actually not a place for me to imagine how hard would that be. And share with us a little bit more. And what is the shift? When is the shift moment for you? and take you to the journey for what you're doing right now?
Yeah. So when I discharged from the hospital, I returned to work, obviously not to a seagoing billet on a ship. I was working for one of the major naval bases there in Sydney. So I was running the communications centre there. So I had, a somewhat restored bill of health, but certainly was still continuing with my recovery. And, I always knew in my heart of hearts that, my purpose was to love and to serve. But rather than loving and serving my captain, my country, my crew, it was about serving humanity. It was far bigger than that. And that's where I recognized it was about serving and connecting. And so I had a thirst that I needed to quench, to this insatiable curiosity, as I mentioned earlier, about my survival and my mindset, which was attributed to that. Hence all of the plethora of the personal development and self-help that I undertook.
And share with us a little bit of the setback and challenge moment while you're recovering and even after you're recovering, because we know that even though after we make a decision, we want our life, we want to be empowered, we were still facing setback. And share with us how you deal with it.
Yeah. So I'm of the frame of mind that, a setback is a setup for a comeback. That an obstacle is a detour in the right direction, that the obstacle is the way. And in fact, that's a great book, The Obstacle is the Right Way. And so I just see it as a challenge. It's a detour in the right direction. On the other side of uncertainty, on the other side of these challenges is opportunity, is possibility. And this is far bigger than me. If I want to positively impact 1 million women's lives in the next 10 years, I need to stay the path. I need to remain committed to that mission.
And I'm sure you're now fully living your purpose and serving the
and
humanity.
what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. It's a rocky road to resilience. But, I kind of have a few mantras that I'm the most resourceful person I know. I'm the most resilient person I know. Everything is figure-outable. Thank you, Marie Forleo.
And how, of course, I know after have the hospital experience, not only physical we will face the challenge or change, but also spiritually, mentally. Can you share with us a little bit more on that?
Holistically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I kind of talk about, so we have two guts, or two brains. We have our brain, and our gut is our second brain. The mind and body are connected. Our thoughts impact our physiological well-being, our biological well-being. And as that coach and therapist that I am, I'm also well aware that unresolved negative emotion plays out in dis-ease, often autoimmune diseases. So if I found myself having negative thoughts, I would assess, is this life enhancing or life detracting? Is this feeding my fears or feeding my future? So awareness is 95% of the journey. So it's about getting, being really mindful of what you're focusing on. Focus on what you want, because the reality is that's what you're manifesting. That's what you're creating in your life. And the other 5% is action. So with that awareness, you need to take that. So it's a matter of catching and redirecting those unresourceful thoughts, feelings, or emotions, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And I often heard someone to say, well, we just want to know these skills. But for me, of course, I think, no, it's not. There's something that we can learn and practice each day and every day. Is it?
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that life is happening for us, not to us. Life is 10% of what happens and 90% of how we respond. And because we're geared for fight or flight, sadly, often we react rather than resourcefully respond. So this goes back to the awareness piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I think you experienced some of the big choice, pivotal moment along your journey. I think it's multiple different choice moments.
Yes.
Even though after you make that choice, I'm sure we might all face challenge along the way. Tell us a little bit more about your little secret to tackle all this challenge that comes along the way.
So, to overcome challenges, to overcome obstacles, I think, we need to have a why. People don't care who we are or what we do. They care why we do it. So when I set a goal, a dream, an aspiration, I make it bigger than me. And I attach it to something outside of me. So when I go into those tunnels, and it's in the deepest of darkest of tunnels comes the greatest of light. So me wanting to positively impact 1 million women's lives in the next 10 years, I may not be in the best place, but if I keep my eye on the prize, that really supports and enables me to get through the darkness and to find the light.
Very, very well said. Yeah. Of course, I believe each one of us in this life have a purpose, no matter big or small. And each one of us is actually have story to share and to benefit other and to serve the humanity as well. And the key is if we can actually utilize a story and actually unpack our inner power, so actually make it stronger. And even you said it very right, it's not us, it's actually we're serving a bigger scale. The goal is for others, is for bigger scale.
Absolutely. The way I perceive it, it's such a gift to inspire through story. It's not our stories that define us, but how we share them that does. In some ways we have a duty, we have an obligation to share our lived experience, because our stories, our experiences may be that very key to unlock somebody else's prison.
Yeah. And if I have to ask you, is there any tips on if someone's just get on the transition and just get on the change, they have a big change in life, how can they build their strength?
Wow, great question. How do you build strength? For me, it's about hope. It's about belief. It's about proximity. We're the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. It's often said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So, and I will often share with my clients, like, I will fight for you until you have the strength to fight for yourself. I will give you the wings to fly until you grow your own. So when people are enduring adversity, I would really encourage them to reach out for help, to reach out for support, to surround themselves with the people that will support and enable them to get through it. Whether it's a coach, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a mentor, whether it's family, whomever it is that's going to provide you with that support, that strength, that courage to get through.
Yeah, that's true. And also for me personally, I remember I come Australia alone by myself. Yeah. So I experienced the loneliness. I experienced that the feeling of, oh, seems like I can't find someone to talk to, someone to support. But once I actually get in the right group of people, my proximity, and I open up my potential, I feel myself that I can. And in the proximity, it's not only about me, I also contribute to supporting each other, to share and listen other story. And this is priceless experience for me. Yeah.
I love that. That makes my little heart sing. Contribution is one of my core values. And I love what you said. You felt quite disconnected, quite alone, quite lonely. And even in that, you said through surrounding yourself with people, you realize your potential and the possibilities. Often we don't see our greatness. We don't see our infinite potential. We don't realize the power that exists within. And it's those people around us that help to spotlight that.
Yeah.
And to reconnect us to self and support us to step into that greatness, into that infinite potential, to make a difference, to contribute at a far greater level.
Absolutely right. Yeah. And so I think finding the right group, being in the right proximity, and just be accountable for each other as
Absolutely.
well is very, very important.
Yes.
And back to your Jamal experience, what is your biggest learning and takeaway from this experience?
So, there's a great book by Bronnie Ware called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And the number one regret of the dying is laying on one's deathbed, realizing that they'd lived the life that others had expected of them. You know, I implore everyone listening to this podcast, you may not get the second chance I got. You know, I implore you to realign, to redefine, and to restore your passion and purpose, because you have one life. Live it. Sadly, we are conditioned to do what's expected of us. You know, but, you know, and Sue speaks so beautifully about the power of choice. It's sometimes about having the courage to take a chance to make that choice that will change the trajectory of your life. To me, happiness is living in alignment, you know, with your values. I have so much meaning and fulfillment in my life because I live in alignment with my values. I have the privilege, you know, to serve and support transformational change, one conversation, one training, one presentation at a time. You know, and that is happiness.
Oh, that's beautiful. And on here, you just remind me one thing is, sometimes we feel that fear, and the fear is trapped in us. But fear is not by avoiding it. Fear for me is identifying it, but you're still doing it anyway. And this is the choice moment. Of course, before we make that choice, we feel that little unsettled feeling within. But actually, fear and excitement in psychologically and physically, they're the same. And it's just the breathing is different. And I remember, you take me back to the moment that I made my big choice. I still remember I was only 15 and I was frightened. And I actually have to take deep breath, couple deep breath. And after this, all right, I'm scared, but you know what? I have to do it because I know this choice is gonna have a massive change. And if there's a time that I have to trust myself, yes, this is the time I have to trust myself.
Absolutely. I love, love, love everything you've just said. And I echo your sentiments completely. You know, physiologically, biologically, the only difference between fear and excitement is your breath. You know, if you're fearful, if you're in an anticipatory state, that inertia is there, you're breathing high and shallow in your chest. You know, if you breathe deep into your diaphragm, that really helps to recenter and to reground. So your breath is your best friend, really. The other thing is, you know, and Susan Jeffers put it beautifully in her book, you know, feel the fear and do it anyway. On the other side of fear, on the other side of uncertainty, on the other side of unfamiliarity is growth, is possibility, is opportunity. You know, outside our comfort zone is where the magic happens. You know, it's pretty either green and growing or ripe and rotting. So, you know, I feel the fear and do it anyway. Or as in the Lion King, as Simba says, you know, I laugh in the face of fear.
Yes, that's true. And this is a very good reminder as well. Yeah, because this couple year, I think many people just keep going ups and down and they might live in fear. And this is really important for them to remember. They can choose. They have a choice to choose in between fear.
You know, what are you focusing on?
Yeah.
You know, you're either coming from a place of love or fear.
Yeah.
If you're coming from a place of love, you're coming from that heart space. If you're coming from a place of fear, you're coming from head, you're coming from ego. You know, so tap back into love. You know, that is our greatest source. That is the rudder that will help us steer and navigate through the adversities in life.
Yeah. Love is really important. I think there's many things motivates you and many things motivate us as well. But I think love is a really big factor, and caring and serving others is the other factor that contributing and keep us going.
Compassion. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, compassion to others and also compassion to ourselves as well.
First and foremost.
Yes, it is. And so back to almost the end of the podcast, we talk about books a lot, and I'm sure you read a lot of books. I've been following you on social media, and you read so many great books. And if I want to ask you to recommend some book, maybe start with 3 books, or maybe even more if you have, that support your life journey.
You know, I have a love of learning. I'm a lifelong learner. Remember, I'm that alumni of the University of Life. So I could be really cheeky. And the first one I'd love to share is I Am Possible, Stories of Grit and Perseverance. Now, this was my first Amazon #1 best-selling book. And my chapter's called An Inner Knowingness. So that's a cheeky one, but that doesn't really list. So Start With Why by Simon Sinek. You know, people don't care what we do, they care why we do it. And people are just so intrigued by the fulfillment, by how passionate I am about what I do, because I'm so emotionally connected to it. So yeah, people don't care what you do, they care why you do it. So really, it's about living one's passion and purpose. Another one of my favorites is The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. You know, and again, it links back to the book by Bronnie Ware. You know, Brené says, let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. Yeah, and that will really negate living the life that others expected of us. You know, I often share with my clients, like, you're perfectly flawsome. You're imperfectly perfect in every way. And it's about embracing that. Another one, Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey. You know, everyone loves a story of a survivor, of overcoming that adversity. I'm a firm believer that, you know, adversity creates opportunity. My adversities, my life-defining moments, enabled me to identify my new trajectory, my alignment to passion and purpose. So that's another one. As I mentioned earlier, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. It's a phenomenal classic that has changed the lives of many. And one final one for the learners out there, Atomic Habits by James Clear. You know, I believe, this is what I believe. The way we start our day is the way we live our day. The way we live our day is the way we live our life. So if we wake up with purpose, you know, we're going to have a day full of meaning and fulfillment.
Yeah. And start the day with positive as well. Like,
absolutely.
And then your day will go
gratitude are in my daily discipline. Gratitude features in my morning routines. I set my intentions in the morning. You know, who do I need to be? How do I need to show up? What values, what beliefs, what strengths do I need to draw upon to do what I need to do in order to achieve those outcomes, the specific and desired outcomes, you know, the goals, the objectives, the results I'm seeking for that particular day. So yes, there's a lot to be said. And you mentioned earlier, you know, where focus goes, energy flows. You bring that positivity into every day. You know, you're not happy all day, every day, but there are moments of happiness in every day.
Yeah, and we can all find happiness moment in every day as well. Talking to Kristy-Ann is, I'm always a student, and I love talking to Kristy-Ann because she got so much wisdom. And when you were just saying that about setting the day right, and it just brings me curiosity about, then what do you encourage people to do if they're having a bad day?
Embrace vulnerability. Lean into it. As I said, on the other side of vulnerability, on the other side of uncertainty, on the other side of fear is growth. Lean into it. You know, we were conditioned that vulnerability is weakness. Vulnerability is actually one of our biggest superpowers. Vulnerability creates relatability. Vulnerability creates likability. Vulnerability creates a sacred space, a container for other people to embrace theirs. It gives them permission to lean into vulnerability too.
Thank you so much for that. That's my honor to talk to you today. And thank you, Kristy-Ann, tuning in today from Perth,
Western Australia.
Yes, from Perth, and share your journey with us. Before I end this podcast, is there anything else you want to share with my audience?
You know, I encourage all of you, if you've been inspired by anything that Sue or I have shared, reach out. You know, Kristy-Ann Waugh on LinkedIn. Alternatively, I do have a Facebook profile, but, you know, pop some comments, some likes, some loves. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat. And by all means, Sue and I would be delighted to support and respond to those questions, those queries, that curiosity.
Thank you so much. And yes, of course, I will also put down Kristy-Ann contact information down in the comment. If you're watching on YouTube, there will be in the description. Contact with me, connect with me. We'd love to hear from you. And by ending this podcast, I also want to ask you guys all a question today. What choice are you going to make today? and allow yourself to be the best version of you? Think about it, leave it in the comment and let us know. And also, if you or anyone you know have an empowering story that you think can share and benefit the humanity and the collective, please contact me through my social media or choice@Zaki-Leung.com. Remember, you always have a choice. Thank you.